I have the Sacramento Kings.
Okay.
This is not a car crash theory either. They're just approaching a point where it's like, hey, you need to commit to a direction because this whole in-betweenness or worse, I feel like their fans deserve better at this point, and you are approaching a natural pivot with, I think we mentioned Richaun Holmes in this podcast. They have early bird rights on him, which, to boil it down, essentially means they could pay him around $10.3 million to start, or they need to use cap space to re-sign him. I think he gets more than $10.3 million in free agency on a longer term deal. So I don't think it's hey, we'll give you the mid-level for 4 years.
Yeah, agree.
And will they create cap space to get him? And at what cost does that cap space come? And are you a better team, a worse team because you subtracted talent? They, to me, are at a point where they need to look at what Phoenix did with Chris Paul. Maybe they look at what Toronto did with Kawhi back in the day. OKC did with Paul George. Did they swing for a star trade? Because they have number 9 in this year's draft. They have all their own future firsts. They have Harrison Barnes. They have Buddy Hield. So they have salary matching tools of intriguing players. You have Tyrese Haliburton, of course. I would only trade him for you need to be getting a top 20 player back if you're trading Tyrese Haliburton to me. But you have stuff. So can you make that move? And if you can't, or if you're unwilling to, burn it down. Tyrese Haliburton, De'Aaron Fox, everybody else, and number 9. Everybody else has to go. And I think I'm curious to see what they do, or will they do historically what the Kings have done and tread water? And I don't know what they're leaning towards because they made that DeLon Wright trade. And it's what was that really aimed at? Because as of right now, if they come back, they're fully healthy, add in the number 9 pick, maybe you make a nice mid-level addition. I don't even know if you're better because what's happening with Richaun Holmes? What does your center rotation look like at this point? So I think they need to commit to a direction. And I think I have an inkling that they will. It's probably an uneducated inkling, but I think that they do something seismic one way or the other, where it's go after a win now guy. Maybe it ends up being the wrong win now guy, but maybe they make that trade. And I think that just do it. Do it. You've seen these other teams in non-glamour markets get after it. Do the same thing. Or tear it down. Just burn it all down and rebuild around Fox, Haliburton, and number 9. And I don't think that's an oversimplification either, because the Kings are I call it the sub-middle of the NBA. That's where they are. They're not firmly in the middle. They're in the sub-middle, where if things break right, you could imagine them getting 6, no, maybe 7, 8 in the West, or making the play-in, but not do much else.
No, and they're a first round out no matter what, based on the talent. I agree. And the problem, I think a problem is that every year that the playoff drought extends, the sort of the desire to end it and just let's win 44 games and sneak in, I think grows. And it's that's the plan. That has been the plan for obviously they would like to be better than that, but I think that is a success. If they, this is how you end up with Harrison Barnes making $20 million a year. This is how you pay Buddy Hield 84 over 5 or 4 or whatever it is, 96 with incentives. You're any reasonable talent that they come across, they just we got to keep this guy because we got to try to make playoffs. What do you think their best asset is that they would actually trade? So Fox is out, Haliburton is out. Is it that 9th pick? Because is it Harrison Barnes?
It's that, or is it a future Kings pick because you bank on the Kingsing?
So how is
I'm not even trying to troll the Kings here.
No, yeah, of course. That. No, that's my thought. Is the Kings can't trade their first rounders. They need those. They're going to be really great picks. You can't, But I don't know. I think Siakam, because we were just talking about him, strikes me as an interesting guy. But I don't know if 9 and a future Kings pick, and you throw Barnes in there as the bulk of the salary match.
You have Bagley
that's
too.
Interesting.
On an expiring.
Is Bagley valuable?
Okay, so
does he have positive trade value?
No. Oh, hell no. That's not positive trade value. But I think he has hope. And 11.3 for a year is overpriced for him now, but it's for a year. You could let him walk if it doesn't work out. And the other thing is he showed flashes towards the end of last season, and I'm still clinging to what he did towards the end of his rookie year before we started dealing with injuries and, the oddball Kings rotation. Just showing a lot of catch and shoot range, nice little floor game, confident in taking those turnaround shots. I think that, I didn't even think, but if Toronto decided to hit restart, if you had, let's say Bagley, 9, 20 Robert Woodard, throw him in there, the wing, and then a 2022 first for Siakam. Do you need to give another first? Can you protect it? I would consider it for Siakam. That's, the other trade I thought of, and I guess maybe this straddles too far in between, but I do think if he's healthy, it would address their defense, was Marvin Bagley, Robert Woodard, number 9, a lotto protected 2022 for Jonathan Isaac.
Oh, I'm all in on teams taking a huge swing on Isaac. I mean, I think that's someone that everyone that has like high risk tolerance should be going for. And I would do that in a heartbeat if I'm the Kings, I think.
I think I would too. I don't know if it's necessarily I'm talking about, hey, you need to pick a direction, and I feel like that might be too far towards the middle. But at the same time, if he can make your defense, and between him and Barnes, if you sign a cheapo center, like you could do a lot of different things defensively. So
the one other thing is I don't know how many people are lower on Bagley than I am, like, or have been lower from the start, but it says something that even I right now feel like the best course for the Kings is, you got to see if year 4 for Bagley is the year he figures it out. Like you cannot trade him for value now, I don't think. And it's like, he's had so many chances. He's been hit by injuries. I don't have any faith that he has like an actual serviceable position to play in the modern NBA. But like, I think he's super critical to the team this year because they just don't have, I mean, Fox, I always think Fox is ready to take a leap. He could be an all-star. Haliburton, we're both high on, but I think Bagley just like, you sort of have to give him another shot, give him a ton of minutes that he hasn't earned and hope that this is the year. And like, that's a bleak spot to be in.
It's bleak, but also they're kind of there if Richaun Holmes leaves. Like they don't just like, they're not overwhelmed with all these bigs. Like, yeah, they can sign some for the mid-level or cheaper, but if you lose Richaun Holmes, your center on this roster is Chimezie Metu. Like,
yeah, you bring back Hassan Whiteside for another minimum deal. I think this is the sad thing. Like, Holmes was really good for them, and an incredible value at $5 million last year. But like, if he makes 12, debatable if that's a value contract.
Just 12 is fine.
The type of center he is. If it's like 15, if it's 18, then it's like, now you've made a mistake. You just can't do it with as good as he is at what he does. The things that he does just aren't good enough to justify, big money.